Good evening and welcome to a program devoted entirely to Lefties Losing It. Let's start with a bit of frivolity. Remember when Will Smith wasn't a massive beta joke before we found out his wife had boyfriends and he slapped Chris Rock for telling a very mild joke about Jada Pinkett Smith? Well, he's desperate to rebuild his image, and this song about how much he likes pretty girls may just be the most embarrassing thing I've seen in 2025, and I watch full episodes of The View for you.
I like pretty girls. Girls. I love pretty girls. Girls. I like pretty girls.
Sadly, the song doesn't get any better.
There's not a lot of women not pretty to me. I mean, she pretty to me. And I ain't talking about just the pretty you see. But the pretty I like pretty girls. Girls. I love pretty girls.
That's enough of that, thank you. But if the official video wasn't bad enough, Will Smith decided to gather a crowd and perform that catastrophe of a song in London. And just check out how excited the crowd is.
I'll change your life if you let me, girls. I like pretty girls.
Yeah, no one's dancing, Will. Give it up, son. Talking about dancing, here is proof that leftism ruins everything. Here is Alyssa Milano. You may remember her from programs like Who's the Boss and Charmed. That was before Trump broke her. This is her now.
Think like that, I will love you endlessly. If you only believe me, don't you think like that, I will love you endlessly. If you only believe me.
You know, there's a bit of a Britney Spears vibe to these antics. Is it a cry for help?
He told a little story that sounded well rehearsed. 4 days on the run and that he's dying of thirst.
Now to that comparison I mentioned earlier, comparison between a year ago and now. A year ago, this man was the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world. Yep, the lefties wanted you to believe he was perfectly fine. No cognitive decline then at all. Well, that was then. This is now.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
Can you detect the subtle difference between those two leaders? One was a cognitively impaired puppet controlled by far-left radicals who empowered the Iranian regime through weakness and terrible deals, and one has devastated the mad mullahs of the Iranian regime. Now the Democrats are demanding that Donald Trump inform them before any future attacks. Here is Adam Schiff on CNN.
The failure to brief Democratic lawmakers, the making this just another partisan exercise by the administration. The president didn't seek the approval of Congress because he didn't make the case to the American people, because he didn't even inform one of the parties in Congress. That's when you have a real problem engaging in warfare on a partisan basis. So a lot of risks here for the country, which, you know, is the reason why you come to Congress in the first place.
Why would President Trump consult with Democrat lawmakers, the lunatic fringe who currently enjoy an approval rating south of 20%? And how exactly would you hope to blindside the Iranians if you are briefing the anti-American miscreants in the Democrats. Anyway, while the Trump administration was taking out Iran's nuclear sites, the Democrats were dealing with far more serious matters. They had Senator Alex Padilla crying on TV because J.D. Vance called him Jose.
Sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously?
Now, predictably, there are many on the left who are having absolute meltdowns about these strikes against Iran. People like this next dude who is on Iran's side, on the side of Islamist terrorists.
And somebody in the White House needs to take Trump and sit his ass the down. Life already hard, now we gotta worry about this. Ever since you stepped foot in the White House, you ain't did nothing but cause mother chaos. I'm not getting out there and fighting nobody. I'm on Iran's side. I'm on their mother U.S. I don't give a damn.
I like his cute little hat. I don't know, maybe that's an act of parody. You can't hardly tell these days. Now, as for the Democrats' propaganda arm in the mainstream media, they are floundering. Watch this on CNN. They're lucky enough to have a token conservative on the panel, Scott Jennings, and he always injects a little bit of sanity into proceedings.
In order for the president to take action without congressional approval, he needed to show that there was a real true threat to the United States and that the strike would not cause escalation. Congress must see the underlying intelligence about how they were indirect threat and how the U.S. needed to respond without congressional approval. But as of right now, I have not seen that.
You're arguing that after 46 years of the Iranian regime killing Americans, threatening Americans, saying over and over and over again, death to America, that maybe they were just didn't mean it, that they're fiery but mostly peaceful Iranian butchers?
And Vice President J.D. Vance was being asked over and over again, is America now at war with Iran? This poor guy was growing weary of pointing out the obvious.
The big question, is the United States now at war with Iran?
No, we're not at war with Iran, John. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program, and I think the president took decisive action to destroy that program last night.
First question, Mr. Vice President, is the United States now at war with Iran?
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program.
You know, nature is healing. Things are getting better day by day. Even as the demented Democrats call for Donald Trump to be impeached for a targeted strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, still the number of sane, rational folk is increasing. You know, things are looking up when a confirmed TDS sufferer like Charlemagne is belatedly seeing the light. Now, this is going to outrage his lefty audience. There'll be meltdowns galore because he's spitting facts.
There have been a bunch of presidents who have ordered strikes without congressional approval. Barack Obama did it against Libya. Joe Biden ordered strikes in Iraq and Syria without congressional approval. Bill Clinton did it to, was it Kosovo? I think you pronounce it. So presidents ordering military action without congressional approval has become pretty routine.
And he's not alone. Here's another Democrat, another lefty losing it. He used to rail against Trump. Well, he's now defending him. Stephen A. Smith is angry, not at the president, but at the Democrats and their calls for impeachment.
The Democrats are calling, or at least some of them, are calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Same old song and dance. I thought we heard this before. I thought that was over and done with. The minute you lost the election with the popular vote in the Electoral College vote and losing every sweep state. I thought we were over that. Question number one. No matter what you feel about the President of the United States, do you think that's the time, while we're in the middle of such strife, to be calling for the impeachment of the President of the United States? Particularly if you're a representative, you're an elected official in the United States of America? I don't think so. That's number one. Number two. Were the Democrats saying that when Obama bombed Libya, when he was in office?
It's a new day, folks. I'll be playing you some crazy lefties soon. But right now, we are just reveling in lefties who are finally seeing the light.
This is eradicating a threat. Civilians weren't targeted. Nuclear sites were targeted. You can navigate your way around. the War Powers Act itself, and you don't have to concern yourself with receiving congressional approval. The Democrats know that because of Obama. So if you knew that because of Obama and you didn't say it when it involved him in Libya, why would you turn around and all of a sudden try to make that case against Donald Trump?
Really, he's done my work for me, precisely the arguments I was going to make, and now I have to listen to a lifelong Democrat make it. I may lose it myself. Now, Trump has even got Democrat Senator John Fetterman wants a far-left radical criticising AOC and her calls for Trump to be impeached.
She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, you know, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
And here's more lefties getting an education. Old school lefty Bill Maher and his audience got a strong dose of logic from Republican Wesley Hunt about the importance of not tearing down Confederate statues and the importance of restoring the names of military bases. Listen to this.
Trump is putting the Robert E. Lee name back on buildings. I mean, are you down with that?
So when I was at West Point, I actually lived in Robert E. Lee barracks when I was there. And as I said,
Robert E. Lee went to West Point.
Yes, he did. That's why the barracks is named after him. And so my brother, sister, and I are matriculated through West Point. We all graduated. And I'll never forget walking under the threshold of Robert E. Lee barracks and think to myself, damn, this is one hell of a country. Because only in America can someone like me walk into a building named after a Confederate general and then be a successful West Point graduate.
Yes.
And I do not want to take down these statues and change the names of these buildings because they're a reminder of what was. And if we don't remember it, we are doomed to repeat it.
So there's a reason for it, I see.
As if it's not bad enough that I have the likes of Charlemagne and Stephen A. Smith making my arguments for me, now here is Bill Maher poking fun at the dangerously dim-witted and delusional ladies of The View.
Whoopi Goldberg saying it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran. You know, I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is a great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean,
It's huge in Iran, though.
Stay in your lane, Bill Maher. Mocking lefties is my territory. You go back to, I don't know, smoking dope and poking fun at Christians. But I do want to play you this brilliant response to Whoopi's insane victim playing from Wesley Hunt. And note again the audience clapping. This is Bill Maher's audience. This wouldn't have happened a few years ago.
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedale plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
So
I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America. That's America.
And while we're talking about The View, let's check in on the lunacy. Here is Joy Behar.
So on Thursday, the White House said that Trump was going to make a decision on Iran within the next 2 weeks. That's what he said. Remember that? Okay. He was going to give diplomatic negotiations more time to play out. And then, less than 48 hours later, this attack was underway. So what changed? And what was he actually trying to accomplish here?
I mean, look, the 2 weeks measure was clearly a bit of a head fake.
So why did he keep it a secret? For the surprise, the surprise version?
I mean, absolutely the diversion. And you saw the way that all indications were the B-2s were flying towards Guam. Everybody thought, okay, so we're getting in position to be ready. They wanted to have some element of surprise.
Did she really ask why the US didn't tell the Iranians about the surprise attack? Lost for words. Here is Sunny Hostin on The View, pretending to be an international law expert, and she gets shut down quick smart.
He bypassed Congress, potentially violated the War Powers Resolution. I believe this is certainly a clear violation of international law at the very least. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries accused the president of misleading the country as to his intentions. What do you think are the possible ramifications that President Trump could face for arguably overstepping his authority?
Well, look, constitutionally, only Congress has the power to declare war. The War Powers Act would make it seem very clear you need to have congressional approval on this. But president after president after president has launched military action without the approval of Congress.
Yeah. Now, here is further proof that blue cities are mad and willing to elect ever more radical miscreants. New York's mayoral race is underway, and Zoran Mamdani, a socialist, the New York Post reports, has barely ever held a job and admits to being a Nepo baby. Well, he could be the next mayor. He could be the man to lead a city of 8.8 million people. This guy.
Down for you. Sound for you. Go ahead, make a rap for your nanny. It's a rap. Get the glass and the rack on your nanny. Spin the rack. Come through, give a dap to your nanny. If you really feeling good, spin a track for your nanny.
And more recently has been involved in violent protests against Tom Homan and the Trump administration's deportation program. And they've done it now. Daddy's mad. It's bad enough that the president has to deal with lefties losing it on networks like CNN and MSNBC. Networks pumping out lies, hysteria and hate 24/7. But the commander-in-chief was also fed up with an ally and a foe failing to live up to a peace deal. And they all copped it, starting with the lefty media outlets.
You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean. I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
You're real losers. Yes, you are. CNN and MSNBC, or was he calling them MSNDC? Well, frankly, he was just warming up.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people, and the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Just fantastic stuff, and well-deserved. I'll show you shortly what inspired that spray, but the president was not done yet. We're going to have a look at one of the greatest moments in Donald Trump's presidency thus far, a moment that will go down in history. And this moment is significant for a number of reasons: the substance of his comments, the manner in which it was delivered, and the confidence it inspired. This is a leader, not a politician.
Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond to Iran on this?
outstanding, outstanding. And that sent a message. There was no forceful retaliation by Israel and none further by Iran for now. And folks from both sides of the political divide appreciated the honesty, the transparency of the moment. But not this blowhard. Let's hear from possibly the dumbest man on British radio, James O'Brien.
The aftermath of an attack upon nuclear facilities. And did my ears deceive me? I think what's clear is that Donald Trump doesn't know what the bleep is going on, right? Can we agree on that?
No, we can't agree on that, you contemptible simpleton. Just like we don't agree on this defamatory set of lies about the president. Perhaps he will sue LBC like he did ABC. That cost ABC a pretty penny. Yes, it did. How much might this little rant cost James O'Brien's employer?
But as it is, it's the self-confessed sex offender who you're cheering for his attitude towards transgender women. It's a self-confessed sex offender, the guy who boasts about grabbing women by their genitals.
Did he say he grabbed them without their consent? Pretty sure he didn't say that, James. But let's get back to what had the president ropeable in the past 24 hours. And he was reporting like this. Here is CNN reporting as gospel info leaked to them by some desperate, hacked and anonymous low-level loser from the deep state, if I may quote the press secretary there.
Essentially looking at the images and looking at what was actually damaged, the Defense Intelligence Agency has assessed that the core components of Iran's nuclear program are largely intact and that Iran's nuclear program has essentially only been set back by months.
Sure, Jan, just months. Nuclear sites bombed to smithereens, just set back a few months. Here is how dishonest CNN can be, how their only objective is to damage Donald Trump. Let's have a look at this presenter, Erin Burnett, first claiming last week that there was no need to bomb Iran's nuclear sites because they were years away from developing a weapon, if indeed Iran even wanted a weapon.
This timeline of Iran being a few weeks away from a nuclear bomb is in direct contradiction to CNN's reporting. According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Iran is 3 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon if they wanted to. So the facts on Iran getting a nuclear weapon do not bear out the claim at the heart of what has put the world on the verge of world war.
World war, hyperbole much? Here is the same activist journalist less than a week later saying the American strikes only put back Iran's nuclear weapon ambitions by a matter of months.
Only set back the Iranian nuclear program by months. We got to call it like it is. It's a big deal.
Unbelievable. And here is CNN's Erin Burnett again claiming that those chanting death to America in Iran are actually really friendly. Well, perhaps they're friendly to her because she's the very definition of a useful idiot.
They're chanting death to America all around me, even as I say, oh, I'm an American reporting for CNN, and they were happy to speak to me. So that those two is sort of jarring realities of the chant, and yet the friendliness have existed together.
No wonder Donald Trump gave the media outlets another big serve earlier today during this press conference at The Hague.
You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less.
Here are a couple of American traitors who want the Islamist Iranian regime to wipe out the South, to blow up more than 100 million Americans in red states like Texas and Florida.
Dear Iran, this is my official application of states that you should wipe out because we did not vote for that orange Cheeto man over here in Los Angeles. Alabama.
Out of here.
Florida.
Out of here.
Arkansas.
Boom.
Oklahoma.
Get them gone.
Ohio.
No.
Kansas.
Gone.
Kentucky.
No.
Arkansas.
Red.
Tennessee.
Fire.
Texas.
Oh, double it.
You know, those those low-life losers mentioned my home state of Arkansas twice. That's a declaration of war where I come from. And let's see another unhinged lefty who somehow deluded herself into thinking she's morally superior because she doesn't believe in law and order. She doesn't believe in borders. She's happy to see the return of the human trafficking trade at the US's southern border because apparently it's what Jesus wanted.
Don't come on my page and say that people should be in this country legally. Don't do it. This is ridiculous. It's inhumane. You are a human being, and don't you dare use Jesus' name or God's name in this and say that this is what he would want and pretend to be a Christian, because you're not. This is pure evil. You are scum of the earth. These are people. These are mothers. These are fathers. These are human beings. And all you care about is where they are geographically. Shame on you. Do better. Be better.
Now, this is one way to deal with a lefty losing it.
And tell me why I'm going to get tased, sir. No, I'm not. No. No.
Why did she get up? You knew she was going to get zapped again as soon as she got up. Now, it doesn't get much sillier than this. This is Sex and the City star Cynthia Nixon campaigning for a radical socialist. Is there a more dim-witted profession than acting? This is just intellectually barren.
It is election day. I'm on my way to vote. I don't know that I have ever been more excited to vote for anyone than I am to vote for Zohran Mamdani.